She tightened her jacket as she walked toward the dimly lit bus stop, headphones in, heartbeat louder than the storm around her. Rain dripped from the flickering sign above her, each spark making her flinch just a little. For a moment, she checked the empty road behind her quiet. Still, almost too still. Her bus was late again. It always was, especially on nights when she needed it the most. She sighed and pulled out her phone, hoping for a signal, a notification, anything. But the screen stayed stubbornly black, reflecting nothing but her tired eyes. A cold gust of wind pushed through the street. She wrapped her arms around herself as thunder rolled in the distance. She glanced at the map pinned to the rusty pole, tracing her route home with her finger. It should have been simple, but something about tonight felt difficult, heavy, different. The streetlights stretched long shadows across the wet pavement. With each passing second, she felt like the shadows were stretching closer to her feet. She removed one headphone, listening to the distant city noise fading behind the storm. That's when she heard its soft footsteps splashing through puddles behind her. Slow, steady, approaching. Her breath caught. She turned her head slightly but saw no one on the sidewalk. She forced a laugh under her breath, trying to calm the jitter inside her chest. Just the rain, she whispered to herself, though she didn't fully believe it. She focused on the arrival schedule again, pretending she wasn't looking over her shoulder. The bus was 20 minutes late now. The footsteps came again, closer this time, then suddenly stopped. Silence wrapped around her like a cold hand. She swallowed hard, her fingers tightening on the strap of her bag. "Hello?" she called out gently, her voice trembling more than she hoped. No answer, just the wind whistling through the empty street. She shifted, taking a few steps forward, trying to peek further down the road. A dark figure stood at the far end still, unmovable, almost part of the night. Her pulse raced. She blinked, and the figure seemed to fade backward into the darkness. The bus stop shelter creaked as she backed into it. Why did tonight feel wrong? Why did every sound feel amplified? She checked her dead phone again, wishing it would magically turn on. Anything would have been better than being stranded here. The whisper of footsteps returned now, circling, deliberate, slow. Her lungs tightened as she pressed herself against the shelter wall. Lightning lit up the entire street for a split second, and in that flash, she saw a face staring at her from the bus stop glass reflection. Wide, still, watching. She gasped and spun around, but the reflection vanished, and there was no one behind her. Her breath shook as thunder cracked overhead. Her bus still nowhere in sight. The night stretching longer, the fear growing heavier. And finally, the sound of a second set of footsteps joined the first. Her chest tightened as the footsteps multiplied, echoing across the street like slow, deliberate taps. She stepped out of the shelter, trying to find the source before panic fully swallowed her. The storm winds howled, rattling loose signs and making her hair whip across her face. She brushed it away and scanned the road, searching for movement. There, just beyond the second lamppost, a shadow leaned against the wall, tall and unmoving. She blinked hard. The shadow was gone again. Her heartbeat thudded painfully in her ears. She paced backward toward the bus sign, forcing her breaths to stay even. She reminded herself that fear could exaggerate anything. Another flash of lightning split the sky, revealing the entire street in a cold white glare. This time, she saw something different. A man stood halfway down the sidewalk. Not lurking, just standing, facing her, watching her. Her breath stuttered. She couldn't look away. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply existed in the most unsettling way possible. She clutched her bag tighter and stepped away from him, her shoes splashing through shallow puddles. The man tilted his head slightly, as though observing the way she moved. She tried to steady her voice. "Sir, the buses are late. Are you waiting too?" But he offered no reply, only silence. Suddenly, something tapped her shoulder. She froze, unable to breathe. She spun around and found no one behind her. Rainwater dripped from the bus stop roof, forming steady beats on the ground. She realized the tapping might have been droplets. She exhaled shakily but still felt the man's presence digging into her back. She refused to turn around again. Instead, she slowly stepped into the road, trying to move closer to the upcoming intersection. The man's footsteps finally followed, slow, measured, steady. She didn't run. Runnick felt like surrendering. Her voice cracked. "Please stop following me." But the rhythm of footsteps continued. She reached the corner, her shoes slipping slightly on the wet asphalt. Across the street, the neon glow of a convenience store flickered. She darted toward it, nearly sliding as her feet splashed through a deep puddle. She yanked the door open, the warm fluorescent light washing over her like a lifeline. The store was empty, except for an elderly cashier who barely lifted his eyes from his newspaper. She rushed to the counter, out of breath. "Sir, someone is following me outside," she whispered urgently. The old man slowly lifted his gaze, eyebrows furrowing. "Outside," he repeated, turning toward the glass front. The storm pounded against it, but the sidewalk was empty. "There's no one there," he said calmly. Her heart sank. She turned to look, and indeed, the street was vacant again. The man had vanished. She stepped back from the counter, confusion twisting her chest. Had she imagined everything? Had fear painted a man from shadows? The cashier shrugged. "Storm nights make the mind play tricks," he muttered, but she wasn't convinced. She lifted her eyes to the glass again and saw him suddenly standing inches behind her reflection. She gasped, spinning around. But again, no one was there. Her legs trembled. She knew she couldn't stay in the store forever. The bus stop was still waiting, and the night was far from over. She stepped outside the convenience store again, hands shaking as the storm soaked her within seconds. She checked the street carefully. The shadows looked thicker now. She forced herself to walk toward the bus stop again. The shelter felt safer than standing exposed in the open road. With hotch step, the rain muffled the world around her, making everything eerily distant. The flickering street lamp hummed and buzzed like an old machine. Thunder rumbled as she approached the bus stop sign once more. She wiped water from her face and tried to steady her breathing. The road remained empty, no people, no cars, no bus, but she felt watched more strongly than before. A metallic clinking sound echoed behind her, almost like keys hitting pavement. She turned sharply. The same tall figure now stood under the opposite lamp. No blur, no flash, he was clearly there. She froze, unable to take a single step. Lightning illuminated the man again, and this time she saw his eyes. Cold, fixed, unblinking. Her instincts screamed at her to run. She turned and sprinted down the road, water splashing high with each desperate stride. Her shoes slipped on the slick surface, but she didn't stop. Behind her, footsteps thundered in pursuit. Fast, heavy, closer. She dashed toward an alleyway, hoping to lose him in the maze of narrow paths. Her lungs burned as she forced herself deeper inside. But the moment she reached the center of the alley, the footsteps stopped completely. Silence engulfed the space. Too sudden, too absolute. Her breath echoed off the brick walls. She spun rapidly, trying to find an escape route. A figure appeared at the end of the alley, not walking, not running, just standing perfectly still. Her voice cracked. "What do you want?" The figure didn't respond. She stepped backwards slowly. Her shoe hit Metallan, old fire escape ladder. Without thinking, she grabbed it and climbed, her wet hand slipping as she pulled herself upward. The storm hammered against her as she climbed higher. Reaching the rooftop, she scrambled across the gravel, searching for any hiding spot. Her heart pounded like thunder inside her chest. She crouched behind a vent stack, trying to make her breaths as silent as possible. The rooftop door creaked open below. Footsteps emerged. Calm, controlled, unhurried. He was on the roof now. Her stomach knotted in terror. She peeked over the vent and saw the man standing at the edge, scanning the rooftop. Lightning struck behind him, outlining his frame in white. His head tilted slowly, hearing her breath. She scrambled backward on her hands, desperate to reach the opposite side, but he moved quickly, cutting off her path. She pressed her back against the wall, rain streaming down her face. The man stepped closer, shadows crawling behind him. Then the distant roar of a bus engine echoed through the street. Her eyes widened. The bus had finally arrived. The man abruptly turned toward the sound, distracted for the first time. She seized the moment. She sprinted across the rooftop, leaped onto the adjacent fire escape, and slid down the ladder. Her legs nearly gave way as she landed on the street. The headlights of the arriving bus sliced through the rain. She bolted toward it with everything she had left. The doors opened. She stumbled inside, collapsing into the nearest seat. The driver looked at her through the mirror. "Rough night?" he asked gently. She could barely speak. She nodded, breath trembling. As the bus pulled away, she glanced out the rainy window. The man stood alone in the street, watching the bus leave. Motionless, unmoving, unblinking. Lightning flashed, and he vanished into the storm. Her eyes stayed glued to the window until the city lights swallowed the road behind her. Only then did she let out a long, shaky breath. She was safe. For now, but deep inside, she felt one truth. This wasn't the end. The stormy night had changed something, and she wasn't sure if she had escaped him or if he had simply chosen to let her go.